Oh boy, what a glorious day. It's almost fall, and it's a new CU podcast super show. Tuesday, September 17th, 2024.
To get you in the fall spirit.
Alongside Ian Ferguson, who gave me a little quilted pumpkin. Thank you, Ian. Crocheted, sorry. I'm Pat Contry. On this super show, we're going to have a ball. We're going to have a blast. It went from 90 degrees 10 days ago, now like 60 degrees. We'll be talking about the next console for families, shenanigans with Sony and the PS5 and the Concord game, and other stuff. YouTuber Lunchables. Ian's doing okay, right? You're not doing bad?
I'm all right. Hanging in there. We're getting ready for a trip to Japan in about 2 weeks. So that's pretty much where my head's been at.
You get an uppercut under a waterfall?
Yeah, there? That's my main reason for going, is to stand on a log and uppercut under a waterfall.
I get a tear in my eye to this day about thinking about that ending. What a pure warrior Ryu is. That's why he's my guy. The fight is everything. It don't need glory. It's all about the fight.
It's impressive.
You gotta try. You get your ticket for the Nintendo Museum, or is that
no? Because it's a lottery, so we won't know if we can go until
you're there.
Yeah,
is that how it works? You say, "Hey, I'm going to be visiting this time period," and they draw tickets.
You pick the days that you want them to pick a lottery for. I mean, that's for people who live in Japan and for tourists.
I wonder what the actual system is. Is it like the old lotto with the ping pong balls?
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, here's Ian.
Everyone's standing outside and they're just rolling a big bingo.
Because I mean, like, obviously, with just some random number generator, random system, they could tell you, way in advance. But I don't know how they do that.
They're open, so they leave all the reservations you can put in for the lottery until I believe the day before.
So the day before.
Yeah, so it's just open.
But they don't tell you in advance. Gotcha. It's that day. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you're off at some Buddhist temple and you got to run back to go to Nintendo?
Not Nintendo's fucking problem.
I mean, would there be an instance where you might just say, well, they told us too late, we're doing something else, we got to skip
We
it?
do have plans. We have days that we have set plans, but then there's a lot of stuff that we're doing that, feasibly we could do, a different day. So like
Sure.
if we're going to go visit this shopping area, we're going to go visit this park, that's stuff that Vonnie and I don't have like nailed down to a specific day. So, if it came up that we could go to the Nintendo Museum, we could easily shuffle, because a lot of where we're spending time in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, but Kyoto and Osaka are close enough to each other so that we're spending the larger chunk of our trip in that area of Japan. So we've got a number of days that we could potentially go. So yeah. Hopefully it'll work out.
Yeah, Japan's got a great train system, and it's not super huge. The country, at least it's not wide. It's thin. It's longer but thin, which some people prefer that. But anyway. This was announced right the night we recorded the last podcast, almost a month ago, on August 20th. The new Prime animated series, Ian, called Secret Level.
Yes.
And boy, was I excited when it was announced. So what is this, Ian? It's going to be 15 episodes based upon all different video games from all eras, an anthology series. Which means, if you don't know what an anthology is, it means each is unconnected stories. Basically, it's that's what it is. It's going to be 15 episodes, classics such as Pac-Man.
Oh my God, have you looked at this since
Dungeons and Dragons? What?
There's a really funny little thing in here.
On that page?
Concord is one of the games that they're doing.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that.
I
think that was okay. So a lot happens in a month, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding.
So when you look at this list we're going to, obviously some of these are more modern, but there's some deep cuts in here that they're basing some of these games on, and we'll hold the grand one until the very end. So we got Armored Core. That's Ian's
your grand one, but yeah.
But Armored Core, which is still making games every now and then, and the new one just came out somewhat recently.
Last year.
Concord, which is no longer a video game that exists.
Right.
Crossfire. I guess not the board game. I don't know what video game Crossfire is off the top of my head. Dungeons and Dragons. So I guess, you pick one or just do the tabletop. Exodus. Honor of Kings. Mega Man.
Exodus. Is that, are they talking Ultimate Exodus?
I would think so, but there's been other Exoduses since then.
It's the only one that I can think of that would make sense.
Well, some of these don't make sense. I don't know how they're going to do a Pac-Man game. I guess we'll see. New World Aternum.
I think that's an online RPG.
Then there's going to be a PlayStation highlighting various PlayStation Studios entaties. So they probably got paid directly for that. I'm guessing there'll be short little films within whatever the half-hour episode, whatever how long it is. Sifu.
Sifu was a martial arts-based video game that came out last year or 2 years ago.
Spelunky.
I'm over the moon about that. Spelunky and Spelunky 2 are two of my favorite video games of all time, and I think the animation will lend itself very well to something.
The Outer Worlds, Warhammer 40,000, which a new one just came out, so obviously
40K. If you say 40,000, you will be torn to shreds.
Warhammer 40,000, and I don't fucking care. And Unreal Tournament. I was looking at the trailer, and I saw a guy in a beret, because it was really quick, a lot of the stuff, and I was just like, oh, that looks like one of the guys from Unreal Tournament, one of the main guys you select as a character and you fight in them. You know, it's like a green beret on his head. And then there's a quick shot of a stadium. It's a wide shot. And I was like, wow, that looks like Facing Worlds, one of the most famous multiplayer maps of all time across all games. And I was like, oh shit. And then it was confirmed online. And I was like, wow, you got me. I'm in. Can't lose. 5 stars. So if you don't know the story of Unreal Tournament, it's like a future where like major corporations run the entire world, which we're getting to kind of in real life. And obviously the Unreal Tournament's one of these like dystopian sort of like things in the future where for entertainment, you see people, you know, go to combat and kill each other, but in a first person, but a shooting setting. So you can use some interesting stories like that. There's some movies that like that with like rollerball and shit like that. It's like, it can write itself in a way. It really could. So yeah, what are your thoughts, Ian? I was kind of like surprised seeing some of these deep cuts here.
Yeah, no, I was too. I Armored Core is a series that I love, and I think it's perfect for that sort of animation. The cores themselves look great. I bet you just at the very least they can make something really slick and visually appealing out of that. And the stories are always interesting. Yeah, the Spelunky I already commented on. I think that's an inspired choice. I think that the art style and the animation will work very well for that. And then some of the newer ones I'm not interested in, but I know they all probably have pretty big followings, especially the online RPG ones. I just don't keep up with that stuff. I'm interested in what they do for Dungeons and Dragons because they say video games, but I don't really consider, I mean, sure, there are video game entries, but that just seems like a way of them being like, oh, okay, we'll do a Dungeons and Dragons one.
Which one? Because
one of those, all of those games have popularity, but none of them really like jump out. Well, the gold box games were super popular, and I mean that you're going back far enough with that.
Sure, but they're all themed the same,
right? So I have a feeling. I don't know if I would be interested in knowing if they pick a specific game to do, or if they're just going to set it in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. Yeah. Either way, it's not a bad choice for them because that stuff is crazy popular.
So it begs the question: seeing Unreal Tournament, what I asked myself was this. And by the way, this is the people that made the critically acclaimed Love, Death, and Robots, which I didn't watch ever before, but it's really good.
Hit or miss, but I mean, the good was good.
Also an anthology.
Yeah.
My question was this, did the showrunners just say, hey, we love all these games and we are going to then try to get the rights to do them? Or were they, obviously, with stuff like the Sony Showcase episode, obviously there was some agreement there to do that, or a combination of it? Because I wonder with Unreal Tournament, were these people like me that said, hey, this is a cool fucking thing to do, let's do it? Or did Epic say like, hey, we want to do this? Then of course I'm going to think, well, that means they want to bring back Unreal Tournament in some way, and this is your gateway drug to get people to realize that Unreal Tournament's a thing that exists. That's my question. I have no idea.
I'm sure that there was some of that because Armored Core was recent. So even though it's a popular series, it's fresh on people's mind. The fact that they were going to do a Concord one and might even still do a Concord one, that's pure marketing. No one cared about the game. No one was looking forward to the game. So, and that was also Sony. Don't forget Concord was Sony, and Sony has their PlayStation highlighting various studio entities episode. I think there was obviously some. I don't want to say advertising money, but there was definitely some, what's the word I'm looking for, funding that came with strings attached, I think.
Maybe, but then you see Mega Man and people are complaining that like there's no new Mega Man game on the horizon. So I was obviously like 3 have been canceled the past 10 years. So people are upset about how that's been treated, rightfully so. So I don't know.
Well, maybe there is a new one coming out. You know, I don't know. I mean, I feel like some of these are just obvious because they're popular. I mean, Pac-Man. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to be like the cartoon in the 80s.
Pac-Man's Pac-Man. The Outer Worlds has a big following. You know, Spelunky has been incredibly popular. It's one of them. I would say probably one of the most successful indie games. So I think there's a mix here of basically what I want to say is I don't think all of this was chosen for monetary reasons. I think there are some artistic reasons that these were chosen as well. I do, and I think a lot of these are going to be good or at least very interesting. Yeah. But yes, I think there was, you know, sponsorship money taken into consideration.
Sure.
Here.
I don't think they're working on a new Unreal Tournament. We would have heard about it. So I think that's just, well, this is a deeper cut for people, and it's Epic Games, you know, which is one of the largest video game companies because of Fortnite. So anyway, well, it comes out in December. So I'm at least going to watch Unreal Tournament. I don't know what they're going to do with Pac-Man. If it's going to be just inspired by Pac-Man, but not Pac-Man directly, I'm like kind of interested to see how that's going to look. It's going to be like a guy in a yellow suit, like shooting at ghosts with a machine gun. It's like, it's kind of like Pac-Man in a maze. You know what I mean?
Well, they'll put Pac-Man in anything. I'm playing a Gundam game right now, and there's like event levels and special levels. And the first one is a Pac-Man level where you run around in a Pac-Man maze as a Gundam, beating up. But
that's what I mean. So I want to see how it's just inspired or directed.
Pac-Man is as much of an aesthetic these days as it is anything else, I think.
Sure. Anyway, so I'm excited for that. I was very happy.
Capcom's got another fighting collection coming out. Capcom Fighting Collection 2. Capcom's been, doing really well with these collections. I think they had the one that had all the various Darkstalkers games on it that I have. They did the Marvel vs. Capcom series collection, which just came out like last week, I think. That puts together we talked about it on here. It puts together all of the Versus games, plus it adds the Punisher arcade game.
Yeah.
And then they're doing this collection, which is probably the one that I'm most excited about. It's the new collection, and it's Capcom vs. SNK, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Project Justice, which I adore. That's the sequel to Rival Schools. I do wish the first Rival Schools was going to be on here. Maybe it is. And then they're also putting Power Stone and Power Stone 2 on there, which are huge fan favorites that were on the Dreamcast. That kind of...
I would say cult classics, if you want to say cult classic.
Cult classic, sure. People really like those. So I think that... Oh, and Plasma Sword.
Those are, 3D arena fighters.
Yes. Closer in... I would almost say... closer in concept to something like a Smash Brothers than a fighting game, but they're fun.
And then they tried to replicate that magic with the Tom and Jerry game on N64. That's...
Oh, did they?
Yep, I reviewed it.
Oh.
No, I know. Sorry, I didn't review that one, but I played through it. It's interesting. You're a Tom and Jerry guy, right?
Oh yeah, huge.
You got to check it out. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's a Tom and Jerry train in Japan, special edition train running for like 4 months, and it'll be running while we're there. So I'm going to make sure I get on that.
They knew you were coming.
And if I don't get on it, I'm at least stopping by the train station to pick up. There's a little stuffed Tom that looks like a train conductor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a stuffed Tom and a stuffed Jerry that look like train conductors. So
okay.
That's on my list. But yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad that there are companies out there, Capcom especially, that are realizing that people want to see their old properties, even if they're not going to do anything with them. I feel like there was, for a long time, I feel like companies like Capcom was doing it.
Capcom's done a lot of these, though.
Yes, but it wasn't always that way. Capcom ignored Darkstalkers for years. Decades. And then 2 years ago, we got this collection. They haven't talked... Capcom versus SNK. These are things... Capcom doesn't... They don't always bring things out, I think, because they don't... I think a lot of modern video game companies don't want people to remember their past titles that they're not doing anything with. Maybe. A lot of video game companies aren't great at acknowledging their own history. Some of them are, and sometimes, and sometimes you get games that have, tons of little cameos and stuff, but... I feel like this is something that has been a long time coming. So
And then there's going to be another Castlevania collection, which I don't know what happened to the link on here.
Oh, because neither of us have anything to say about it, Pat, so I deleted
Well,
it.
I figured it's more you want to say the more Metroidvania, more GBA DS era Castlevania stuff.
Well, the GBA collection is already out. That already happened. These are just basically the Metroidvania style Castlevania games.
Okay.
Span the PlayStation with Jesus Christ, Ferguson. Symphony of the Night. Then there was 3 of them on the GBA, and this is the 3 DS ones. And actually, Order of Ecclesia is not particularly Metroidvania.
Then what was the first collection have?
I thought the 3 GBA ones.
Okay.
Circle of the Moon.
The Castlevania collection.
Harmony of Dissonance. Aria of Sorrow.
Okay. For some reason, I thought it went everything up to that point. Okay,
No.
it didn't.
No, there's a Castlevania collection, a Castlevania Game Boy Advance collection, and now this is the DS collection.
The original Castlevania Anniversary collection. Now it's confusing. Okay, so the original Castlevania Anniversary collection had
all the NES, Game Boy, Genesis, and Super Nintendo games.
Okay, that's why I thought this was continuing after that. But you're saying there was one in between that in this. Gotcha.
There's actually been 2. There is one collection that has just the Dracula X games, which are Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood.
Okay.
Then there was one that had just the GBA games, and now this one is just the DS games.
Wow, they're really milking it. But all right, they're
good games.
You could have done them all in 2 or 3, not 5. But okay, we're good. All right, cool. Well, there you go. Us Castlevania fans. So also Konami has no issue reissuing the old Castlevania games.
Well, yeah, I feel like because this is how Konami releases video games these days. I mean, they don't fucking make anything anymore. They
make gambling machines.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. They don't make games anymore. They just re-release their old shit and license it out.
Hey, low risk. I mean, well, that's fun.
You know what's really fucking dumb? The words that I have to read here.
Okay.
Let me see. Let's see right here. So, Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI. I'm already fucking feeling
3 of the
sick.
4 fucking apocalypse horsemen
are releasing their own Lunchables. And somewhere
Lunchable type products.
Yes. And somewhere in this article, I read the words. I'm not particularly enthused to try to find them again, but something like they're going to disrupt the grab and go lunch game. I'm fucking tired of these people, man. I don't know why they have to insert themselves in every fucking part of life.
So Lunchables growing up,
I love them.
Was all marketing. You get, hey, make your own little pizza things with like piece of cheese, a little.
It's cheese and cracker snacks. Everyone loves cheese and cracker snacks, so they just added some meat coins in there.
Meat coins, yes.
So they throw a stack of meat coins in there.
It used to be an animal at some point in time, technically, and now it's it's over-processed shit.
It's great
for kids,
and it's usually it's crackers, some meat, and some cheese. Then they got fancier and maybe started putting Oreos in there.
They did have like a make-your-own pizza one, I think, with a little sauce.
There's the pizza one. There's a nachos one,
and they would throw in a little dessert.
Sometimes you'd get like a little fun-sized candy bar or an Oreo.
They put or a little. Maybe a small little brownie or something. Here's the point.
They stopped using real Oreos. The cookies they use are disgusting.
Growing up in like the late 80s, early 90s, these were a thing.
They're still a thing. They're huge.
I don't know if they were a thing with kids or adults that grew up with them, but they were when growing up, you almost always see a kid. Not like every kid would have them, but like one kid would have one maybe like almost every day. And people are like, oh, you got lunch, because it was a huge marketing thing. You were getting shit food that was marketed well. That's basically what it was for kids. Not really healthy. Tons of salt, tons of preservatives. But hey, what else are you going to eat growing up, right? So here's the thing. So this is called Lunchly.
Yes,
Lunchly.
And they're billing it as a healthy alternative.
And that's what bothers me. Healthy alternative to what? Because you don't want your kids eating these every day. Maybe a treat every now and then, but not every day. It's not healthy for your kids to be eating crackers and some fucking sausage salami alternative every day for lunch. And they're going to be marketing these to kids. And that bothers me. The fact that they're trying to like say it's a health food, or excuse me, healthier than whatever alternatives out there. Here's a quote from good old Paul, who's never fallen flat in his face with any other product before, like crypto shit. Our end game has always been to not only provide high quality products, but also healthier alternatives. That's why we're entering the lunch grab and go market. It's been dominated by Lunchables since we were kids ourselves, and it's time to provide a better option for those looking for a convenient, healthier choice. We're bringing the biggest creators together to do something that's never been done. Disrupt the lunch market for kids with healthier, better tasting options, said Donaldson in a statement. That's Mr. Beast, right? Mm-hmm. Lunchly is all about giving kids a fun grab-and-go meal that's not just delicious, but also good for them. I would challenge that. Good for them versus what? That's why I have an issue with this.
And I'll say this real quick, too. They actually have the comparisons here. They have a comparison page, the us versus them page. But when you look at it, it's really not that different. And I also find it just weird how they talk about it. So, like, if you look at protein, the turkey and cheese has the same amount of protein. The Lunchly pizza actually has 1 gram less protein. And the Lunchly nachos have 2 grams more protein. There is absolutely nothing healthy about a nacho lunch kit. Like, I mean, it's just, there's not.
It's
to
shitty,
even call that lunch is ridiculous.
It's fake cheese and some tomato paste cheap salsa with tortilla chips, right?
The pizza, which is one of the most popular ones among kids, I think it's gross. I mean, you're just eating a big cracker of unbaked pizza. 360 calories per packaging for the Lunchly, 390 on the Lunchables. We're talking a difference of 60 calories. This is the weird thing, though. Each one is like, how many electrolytes are in this? And it's like because it has the drink with it compared to the Capri Sun.
So they're throwing in the Prime. We didn't mention that. They're throwing in the Prime the Prime.
They throw in a Prime drink with it and then a small chocolate bar. So the weird thing is, though, is they're taking into account these ones with the drink and the chocolate bar when a lot of the Lunchables are just crackers, cheese, meat. No dessert, no drink.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't look into that much. Okay.
Once again, it's just marketing, and we're talking about slightly healthier in stuff that no matter which version of it you're eating, this falls squarely into that group, that little triangle at the top of the fucking shitty food pyramid. Use sparingly, okay? Yeah. You should be eating these. These are the occasional treat or snack or fuck. I eat a Lunchable sometimes if I'm running to work and I need something. Like I'll throw one in the fridge. But this is not like a daily lunch option.
No, they don't tell you how much sodium's in here, what all the preservatives are on this shit.
Yes, because the sodium's going to be insane.
Yes, and that's what's really bad for you to eat overall. And then they don't tell you, well, there's no carbs in here because it's crackers and shit. It's going to be carbs. Yes, there is less sugar. That is good. Mm-hmm. I do like that. The proteins is almost exactly the same. The calories doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that much compared to everything else on there. The electrolytes thing is funny because, like, that was never thought of when we had meals when we were kids about how much.
No, it's a totally weird thing that lets they're just putting it on there because they have the Prime Energy drink and it lets them put another number on there, or the Prime Gatorade thing lets them put another number on.
To me, this is almost. I'm going to be very cynical. This is super cynical. This is like a Prime promotion thing as well, because we're going to throw Prime in here, and the kids want to drink more Prime because they had it with their meal.
Oh, it's a promotion thing for Prime and both the Mr. Beast chocolate bars because there's little ones in there.
So this is. I don't know. Like I said, if this wasn't geared towards 6 or 7 years old, I wouldn't care. Oh, if it was like an adult thing. All right, adults, whatever. Relive your childhood.
I don't know if it's 6 or 7 year olds. I don't think they're the market for KSI, and I feel like this
10-year-olds,
a teenager thing.
All right. When we were growing up with Lunchables, though, we were like 9 when we ate these things. We weren't eating these in high school. So.
It's just weird to me that people look to these 3 fucking average, boring dudes, and they're just like, I want these people to tell me what to eat, what video game systems to play, what to drink. I want Mr. Beast chocolate bars, because when I think YouTuber, I think they must make great chocolate bars. Well, none of the promotion makes sense anymore.
Well, that's what I think is strange. It's no longer they're building businesses. Because usually when a YouTuber or podcaster promotes things or creates things, it's usually in line with what their audience is expecting. And now it's just like, well, we're gonna feed you and give you drinks because we are doing that now.
Right.
It has nothing to do with our content.
No, and
it has nothing.
And I think that more than anything is what annoys me the most.
It's like if let's see, what could we come out with that would be so off brand that we would tell people to go after? The patenting of a body pillow. We're going to come out with a body pillow for you all. It's like, what? You're going to tell us how to sleep with a weird object that might make us feel good? I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Patney and orthopedic shoes. Like
there you go. Why'd I go to body pill? I don't know. Is that a thing? Body pill. You know,
and it also means something very different than what you're thinking of.
Really? What, there's a
huge market of pillows that are body length that have anime women on them.
That's what I meant. I've seen that at Comic-Con.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's the thing. If we sold you that, I don't think we ever brought that up before. That might be a little strange. That's all. There's no Lunchables at ultimatenintendo.com. There's absolutely not. But maybe I should get into it. Maybe I should have my own tequila brand. That would be more on brand because I love margaritas. But you can get RBI baseball stickers. Pat and Ian Enamel pins are there. You get Pat the NES Punk fucking DVDs, not for resale, Blu-ray, and you can pre-order
the book.
Well, the Super Nintendo book, but the N64 book that's going to be shipping now in October. That's the latest word. I just went and I sent the survey out to all the Kickstarter supporters to get their addresses. Why did your eyebrows go up? So there you go. UltimateNintendo.com. And if you're in Canada, I have an official partner, Retro MTL in Montreal. So if you're in Canada, you can save on shipping by pre-ordering it at RetroMTL.com. Our folks and fine friends at Retro MTL. Oh, so that means next month, Ian, officially, I will be retiring the Bobby the Brain Heenan NES book behind me. I'll replace it. So you're going to have the two books that are actually available for sale right now.
Not a bad idea.
That's a sad time. But the NES book, well, we'll talk about that. Can I get a couple weeks off first before I put out these 6.5 pound things? That'd be nice. And then I'll be on Twitch on Wednesday. Twitch.tv/ContraCode. You know the deal. Tetris Forever was announced, Ian.
Digital Eclipse has announced the next entry in their Gold Master series, and the next one is Tetris Forever. I'm of two minds with this, oddly. I love the idea of the Gold Master series. We've talked about this before. I think the uses...
The third one or second one?
This will be the third one, technically.
Okay.
I think the usage of the term has been a little erratic. I felt like Wizardry definitely should have been a Gold Master series, not necessarily the remake that they did. The first one was Karateka, which was great. And then the second one was the Jeff Minter collection. So they basically this is Digital Eclipse's series that, much like their Atari 50th collection, aims to teach you as much about these games as give you games to play. They set them up as like digital museums. Tetris is an interesting choice to me because Tetris is incredibly popular. So I think it's a good choice for that. But it's also odd to me because they went from two very sort of niche entries with Karateka and the Jeff Minter thing, and then jumped into Tetris, which, hey, that's an opportunity that would be hard to turn down. But Tetris, if anything, is not unknown. Tetris has been covered and documented and written about.
There's been books and documentaries and a really bad fictional narrative that came out a couple years ago.
It just... It's odd because I'm sure that they, because they're interviewing Alexi and all that. I have a feeling they're going to have interesting things to say. I just don't feel like this is a stone that has been left unturned. This has been we've said a lot about Tetris.
Yeah, the story's known.
So that's my thing with it. I think it's going to be, if you're a Tetris fan, which actually I'm not really, and it's not because I don't like it. I'm just bad at it, and I am never going to take the time to get good at Tetris. I think Tetris fans will really like this, but this doesn't interest me on an educational level, or documentary level, the way something like Karateka actually did.
I think it's interesting to do it about a puzzle game. Because of this. Most people that like puzzle games, for the most part, like when you meet someone that really loves Tetris, they have their specific Tetris they love.
Sure.
They're not playing fucking Tetris 2 on the NES. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not playing the weird offshoots that they tried for the most part. They're playing just the one version they like to get really good at, you know what I mean, or to beat the score, and that's it. So it's not the same thing as, hey, we're going to give you a fighting game collection with all these different iterations that build upon each other and are all loved for different reasons.
Sure, like a Street Fighter 2 collection that ended up on the PlayStation being spread across 2 releases because there's so many fucking versions of Street Fighter 2.
And you can play Street Fighter Alpha and enjoy it as much as World
Well, I'm not even talking about Alpha. Yeah. Alpha's a different series. I'm talking just Street Fighter 2. There's like 6 or 7 versions.
The point is like you can enjoy those all equally. You can get the original World Warrior, and then Hyper Fighting has its pros and cons versus that. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that. Puzzle games are very particular. Like, you like them because they're very specific in terms of how the machinations work, how the flow is, and they don't really sequelize well, traditionally, puzzle games.
And when they do...
Unless they stay almost exactly the same, like Bust a Move.
Well, and that's... and not even Bust a Move has done that. That's what I was going to say. Tetris...
Or closer.
Actual entries to Tetris have more or less stayed the same. And I think that's the problem with this is, one, it doesn't have the 2 most popular versions of Tetris on it. Well, at least what I would consider, the Nintendo and the Game Boy one.
Doesn't have the 3 most popular ones.
What's the other one?
The Atari one that came out in the arcade that became the Tengen one on the NES.
If they have the Grandmaster series, I would say arguably those are more popular these days with fans. But those were the arcade ones. But again... 10, 11 versions of Tetris that all play more or less the same is not as exciting.
Well, no, there's weird ones on here too. If you look at the list, there's see, I don't even know about these ones. Plus, there's a new one, Tetris Time Warp. That's, I guess there's going to be.
They always do like their own little Digital Eclipse always adds like their own version of a game.
Here's the list of these. All right, let's just go through the list of. Is this even all of them? Did they announce them? The Famicom version of Tetris, not the NES. Switch Online is going to release their version of the NES Tetris, one of the most famous ones, in concert, I think, with the releases. They sort of set it up. And I can see why Nintendo wouldn't want to license out their version, because to them, it's like, why would we do that? Like, why would we do, like, we're losing money. We're going to have...
Well, they don't license. I mean, they just don't. So, very, very, very infrequent.
Correct. So you don't get that version. You don't get the Game Boy versions. Those are the 2 versions that are the most famous. And I'd argue a close second would be the Atari version that was in arcades that a lot of people play in the arcade, and then obviously the Tengen version that came out at the same time, or right before the NES one. That became the whole unlicensed issue there. You get that. You get Hatris. I don't consider Hatris in the Tetris family.
No, but I actually don't think they do. What I think is going to be interesting is I think that's going to be... This I do think is interesting. I guarantee you there's going to be a part on Tetris Mania and how everyone tried to recapture it and none of it worked.
Sure, but I don't consider Hatris part of that franchise. It's a weird one-off clone. You know what I mean?
I get
it's interesting to play for like 10 minutes.
I hate it, but yeah, I think I understand contextually what they're going to do with that.
Sure, but my point is this: these aren't like games that are all like as well connected as these other collections we talked about. That's what I mean. Like Tetris 2, no one goes back and plays Tetris 2.
That's a miserable fucking game.
No, that's why no one plays that. I don't know anything about Super Bomb Bliss or Super Bomb Bliss DX. Do you know anything about those?
I think I know them as something else.
Tetris Battle Guidance. So these were like Super Famicom releases, I believe. Super Tetris 2, Super Tetris 2 plus Bomb Bliss, Gentai Bon. Super Tetris 3, the Tetris Time Warp I told you about, but before that, I think it was developed just
Super
for this.
Tetris games are supposed to be good.
So that's my point, is that you're not getting the most famous versions of Tetris. That's how you learn about Tetris. That's all. That's all. I'm not saying the documentary parts won't be fun. They probably will be, but this is not in the same pedigree to me as obviously Atari 50 is going to be, no one's ever going to match that. I think for what you get out of that.
Sure,
but it's going to be tough. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
GameStop.
GameStop. Yeah, we're not talking about this other story. There was going to talk about a story. GameStop announced this a few weeks ago, and I almost went to check out my local one. So remember when I told you GameStop was in the news last month, or 2 months ago, because they obliterated Game Informer.
Yep.
Remember when I told you the employer thought or gaslit, I don't know, that said that GameStop did not own Game Informer and did not shut it down.
Yes.
At the same time, I had a conversation with him 2 months ago. He told me, I asked him about, hey, I said to him, are there retro games anymore here? He said, no, they're all consolidated now to the store up in, I think he's mentioned Mission Valley or something. So I said, huh, interesting. So they're all going to go to one location. He said, yeah, we're all just going to, for all the individual stores, we're going to throw them into one location. A week and a half later, Ian, they officially announced GameStop. They have retro stores, capital retro stores, with no real information about what that fucking meant. And you know what that meant? They pulled it out of the old Funkoland playbook from the early 2000s when they decided just to consolidate all their stock into stores here and there individually to get them all, people to siphon them all to one store to buy all the old shit they have left in stock.
So it's a store where you can buy retro games, but it's not a dedicated retro GameStop store.
Absolutely not, Ian.
Got it.
And they did not pretend it to be anything other, but people were tricked into thinking, including a couple of our mutuals, was like, hey, Pat, what's up with this? GameStop has retro stores now? I said, no, they don't. That's not a thing that they have. They'll just have a shelf spot for all the old stock from the stores, and they're just getting them all out of the other stores and throwing them into one store. That's it. It's as simple and as cynical as that. But they tricked people and probably thought it'd be good PR after the Game Informer disaster. That's something that people would have a positive reaction to.
They're trying to put a banana in our tailpipe.
Sure, they're trying to Eddie Murphy us. They're trying to Beverly Hills Cop us again. By the way, in the screenplay, the Sylvester Stallone version, it's an eggplant. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, really?
I'm not even kidding. Eggplant in the tailpipe. If you did not know out there, spoilers, Sylvester Stallone was supposed to be the original Axel in Beverly Hills. Axel Cobretti in Beverly Hills Cop. But, the old eggplant in the tailpipe. I don't know where he found an eggplant in Beverly Hills, but he found one. Anyway, so people did, like, I think videos that they put on the social media saying, hey, here's my retro section, and it's just one little wall with the games that are there that they take from all the stores and put them there. So if you go to the website, Ian, go to GameStop.com here. You can search for the retro store near you. At least it was on there before.
I don't even see it on here now.
It was on there under the menu. Video games, retro gaming. GameStop Retro. Nothing beats a classic. Travel back in time with history's greatest games and consoles. So you can still buy them from online. The great retro initiative of 2016 that they tried back then, and it lasted like a year and a half before they realized it was a failure. When they did the trade-ins, and Ian wasn't on the podcast, a part of that with his illness, but I had very juicy stories about how messed up it was about people getting either counterfeit games.
Well, we talked about that when I was on the podcast too. I mean, it went forever.
But it started when you were off the show in like the fall of 16. So the point is that did not go well for them. They got in over their head. They had to try to trade employees in some like warehouse, I believe it was in Texas, to clean all these games that got traded, and they got a lot of counterfeits. But sometimes people won the lottery, they'd buy a game card only, they'd send them the complete in box one. So you know, there were some winners there, some losers. So here's the point. Now their GameStop Retro is, you click on a button, Ian, find a retro store, and then you search for the one in your vicinity based upon your zip code. So if I put in our zip code here, and I'll search within a 50-mile, I'll play a 100-mile radius. Hit search. So within a 100-mile radius, there are 6 in a 100-mile radius, but only one that we could drive to in an afternoon. So when you say GameStop Retro, it's just going to be a regular GameStop. There won't be a different sign. There won't be Ian kiosks like at Funkoland.
Well, here's a fun thing. You would expect if there's a retro store that you would at least hope to be able to go there and get a copy of Tetris on the Game Boy. There are no retro stores within 100 miles that have a copy of Tetris on the Game Boy.
Oh, so you're searching for the
I'm looking for the actual games like that they're advertising at the top. So like they have Tetris advertised at the top. This also seems to be coincidentally tied in with their partnership with the Mod Retro.
Really? We never talked about that. Let's bring that up now.
Well, we did. We did talk about that.
About it coming to GameStop?
I'm almost positive we talked about that when we talked about the announcement, because that was announced.
Oh, okay. Well, if you didn't know, because now they have a video of it, the chromatic Game Boy clone, you want to call it. They shot video of people trying it out at a GameStop, because you're going to be able to purchase
no Super Mario Land within 100 miles at a GameStop retro store.
We only have one store within 50-mile radius, by the way, when you search for 50 miles. So they're going to try to push the chromatic handheld Game Boy clone at I guess, GameStops, but I don't think they're going to sell many at the GameStops, because it's not the audience for them. There's not really an audience for this. We kind of talked about
no Pokemon Red. So, I mean, my whole thing is that, yeah, this is really just, I think, kind of a promotional thing.
It's cynical.
It's cynical. Promote the mod retro a little bit. Say, hey, we have some of this. Get rid of the backstock they have. But if you are partnering with the mod retro chromatic and you are saying you have retro stores, you would think you would want Game Boy games there, and no Tetris, no Super Mario Land, no Pokemon Red. That's insane. What are you selling?
Well, let's be clear. I don't think they're going to be stocking 50 chromatics at each GameStop. You'll probably be able to pre-order it there, I would think, and then they'll just ship it there and you'll pick it up.
Yes, and that's because that's how they are with anything. Most of the GameStops around here, if I go in to try to pick up even a remotely, or I mean, anything popular, even like Nintendo-made Switch games, there's a 50-50 chance that they're going to have any copies outside of pre-orders on launch day, because they just don't stock anything. They GameStop, despite all the stock exchange stuff, is not a company that's doing well, is not a company with a business model that can survive, and they don't have the money to just order in 20 copies of a game if they don't know everyone's going to buy it. So they're not going to take up stock space with fucking 25 different Game Boy games. They're just not going to do it.
I don't have the link down, but they released the Q2 earnings. They did a $14 million profit. It's one of the only profitable quarters they've had in the past several years. So here's the deal with GameStop. They have, obviously billions in the bank, but that's from the meme stock shit.
Yeah,
has nothing to do with the store making money.
That's what I was saying. Like, it's not because the business plan suddenly started working.
The only reason they got a measly 14 million profit, when that's on like $1 billion of revenue, which is not a good margin, by the way, if you're doing math. Several hundred million, and you only get 14 million in profit, because they shut stores.
Yeah.
And they cut employees.
Yep.
And they had the balls to say that part of that profit was also from shuttering Game Informer, even though they shuttered Game Informer only 2 months ago.
Yes.
It wasn't even in the second fucking quarter. Second quarter ends in June, by the way. And so that's kind of bullshit too. That's the point, is that the only way they're going to continue to make profit is by shutting stores that aren't making any profit at all and just getting the number down. This was happening before the pandemic. We were talking about them. They were cutting 10% of stores this year, 15% of stores this year, number just dwindling. Then obviously there was a weird pause and shit happened with the pandemic. Meme stock things happens, which gives them a lifeline, because now they can have cash to get them out of debt and to keep the stores open, but they're still not making money. And if you have a business with a lot of cash, and you're not using it for anything, that cash just sits there. That's not good for stockholders, because they don't get that cash. They get earnings revenue percentages and things like that. So what was I saying? This was cynical. GameStop Retro is utter bullshit. It's literally just find a store that has, like you said, has our old stock that we dumped.
Yep.
Funkoland did the same thing in the early 2000s, but they were honest with you and said, yeah, like in Jersey, for example, they said to me, yeah, everything that was like 16-bit and previous was, they would say, yeah, there's like 2 stores in New Jersey that has all that stock. Remember, one was in Union, North Jersey, and one was in South Jersey, and that was it. You had to drive an hour to one of them in order to search for it. That's it. It wasn't Funkoland Retro.
Right.
It was just
Funkoland with Retro.
The last good chain that we've ever had. I like Software Saver too. I like Electronics OT. I like them all, actually. I didn't have an Egghead near me. I think I had one Egghead, never went into it.
We had Babbage's. I liked Babbage's.